Good morning, this is the Eager Beaver Show.
You are listening to a True North Eager Beaver Media Incorporated podcast. True North Eager Beaver podcasts are proudly brought to you by our founding sponsors, the Miss V Mysteries from Corvid Moon Publishing, your source for science fiction, fantasy, and cozy mysteries featuring a broad diversity of characters. PsychicTarot.ca, book your tarot reading and unlock your spiritual journey. And the Pepper Master, hot pepper sauces made from farm-fresh ingredients to thrill your taste buds and expand your mind. Well, good morning and hello, kits and cubs, and welcome to Season 6 and Episode 911 of the Daily Beaver Morning Show. Oh, Canada! Always 100% Canadian, and of course, always absolutely and totally beaverific. Today, recording day is Thursday, May 21st, 2026, and it is a gorgeous day here at the Beaver Lodge, as you can see by the sun shining on my face. I am your host, the Eager Beaver, pronouns he, him, hey, Mr. Beaver A, and not with me, as usual, is my good friend, Mr. Grizzly. And we are trying a couple of new things, trying it without the green screen today to see if that helps the speed. Unfortunately, by the launch of the show and the opening credits and the number of times it stalled along the way, at least at this end, I don't know what it was like for you, it seems that the green screen was not the problem. We've already been able to confirm that in the first couple of seconds of the show. I do not know what it is, but I know the same thing happened to Mr. Grizzly when he had moved to a Mac for some reason. The Mac, which is supposed to be absolutely wonderful and perfect for this, seems to get overloaded really easily. So I am not sure again why this is happening, because the only things I have open are my internet browser and my Restream, and that's about it. There are no other programs running. The computer should not be overtaxed, and yet for some reason it is. So it's going to be another interesting show with probably things taking a long time to load up, and transitions being difficult, and I apologize for that. I have literally tried everything I know how to do in order to make sure that that doesn't happen, and I've got nothing. So kind of starting to look like both the Restream and maybe the Mac were bad investments, unfortunately. Ah, all right. All I want to do is run a smooth show, and unfortunately, tech does not cooperate with me. But hey, you're here, I'm here. We will do the best we can. On fait ce qu'on peut, and eventually, someday, maybe we will actually have equipment and software that actually works as it is supposed to. Until then, we MacGyver it and we soldier on, because the news and the information to be transmitted is much too important. Big thank you goes to our podcast founding sponsors, the Pepper Master, the Miss V Mysteries from Corvid Moon Publishing, and PsychicTarot.ca. And no, Kitlinda, also not lots of tabs running in the browser either. I've also eliminated that practice as well. There literally is no reason for this to be happening at the moment, but it is. So there you go. So let's see. Today on, well, first of all, how's your mental health doing? Mine doing fairly well. Just a little less than a month before we do our mental health walk. Not sure how elaborate it is going to be this year, yet again, given that Mr. Grizzly is very busy. We had hoped to be able to do a pubcast this weekend. Unfortunately, he is not available. Not sure if maybe I will do something from home if possible. But there will not be an opportunity to do a podcast this month. Like there was an opportunity. We've only done one so far this year, given how busy he has been, or I have been. Uh, yeah, we need to find a way to get that tradition back on a regular basis. Yeah, stay tuned for that. I'll see if maybe I can do something this weekend, more casual from home. Uh, let's see what else. Um, Oops, there we go. The slide is really coming in super bright here. I can't. That'll fix itself over time as the sun moves. Let's see. So, unfortunately, no pubcast from the pub this month, but hopefully we'll be able to do something for that. And then for, like I said, for the walk itself, not sure if Mr. Grizzly will be available on the 20th to be able to do something live from the pub. So we're so far we're doing like we're doing last year, encouraging people to walk and tell someone, especially if you're a guy or a male identifying person, to call your other guys friends, your mates, your blokes, and go out for a walk and check in on their mental health and make it a nice, good little 5K to give you the time to get into some subjects, not just a little surface conversation. And check in because, you know, we need to take care of each other, particularly in these times that are particularly stressful, not only with what's going on in the world and the sort of whole existential part of it, but there are a lot of people, as we keep on telling you about either the K-shape or even the E-shaped economy, as a lot of people are saying, and those that are at the bottom rungs of it, or those that are being particularly affected because they work in sectors that are being affected by those tariffs. They've got a lot going on, and maybe some time to check in would be a good thing. So, and we are trying to destigmatize the concept of men speaking, particularly to other men, about their mental health. Of course, if you do not have a guy friend to speak to, please speak to someone, anyone, and check in because pain is a necessary part of life, but often the suffering is optional. And hopefully, we all have uh, at least one or two people in our circle um, who have a kind ear and a soft shoulder and time to lend them to us. And, we always have to make sure to, how would I say, uh, schedule time in our lives to be a good friend. I've recently had the experience. So, let's be there for each other. Hopefully, we will have an opportunity to do a little more. Got to promote the walk on the O Show with Laura, Lady Laura, last week, and that was always a good thing. And so, hopefully, we'll get to people walking. And we do have one pledge for my weight loss initiative. Hopefully, there will be more before we get to June 20th, so we can make a little bit of a donation to our two sponsor organization, our two, not sponsor organizations, but our two beneficiary organizations, the Lonely Man Project in Newfoundland and Labrador, and the Men of the North, which is an Indigenous-led program in La Ronge, Saskatchewan. And we would like to be able to offer them a little something this year, hopefully, with your generosity. So, in order to do that, if you want to do that, pledging $1 or $2 per pound I lose between April 12th and June 20th. And you can send that to truenortheagerbeaver@gmail.com if you're willing to pledge. I have reversed the trend from gaining. I'm going back down now. It's at 177 yesterday. I was at 175 this morning. So whatever happened that I was gaining weight for the last 4 days. Just looking at food appears to have stopped. Indeed, Kit Linda here. Klaus Kellerman did an interesting show this morning about how inflation affects different classes, which certainly contributes to mental health challenges. Yes, because right now, the greatest part of the most immediate inflation and highest inflation is affecting people the most at the lower end of the social economic ladder, particularly because food inflation is rather high and everybody needs to eat, and fuel inflation is rather high, and well, everybody needs to get around, or everybody needs things that are shipped at some point. Um, and when you have a lower income and the greater proportion of your income is going towards the basic necessities, if we're at Maslow's pyramid of needs, the bottom things of the pyramid of things you absolutely need: food, shelter, in today's world, basic connectivity, an ability to get around either on public transit or your own car or anything of the like. Um, you're feeling it. You're particularly feeling it if you happen to not have a pension waiting for you. If you not have happen not to have investments, if you have investments, you're doing pretty well right now. Um, but if you don't, that's the thing. There are people that are renewing their mortgages, and fortunately, interest rates have gone such that the mortgage cliff that everybody was expecting didn't really hit that hard, and there are not that many new defaults given the new standards that we put in terms of stress testing mortgages when they were at lower rates. So people have less disposable income, but are not necessarily being squeezed out because we took those defensive measures a few years ago. But even there, less disposable income as prices are rising on other things, especially essentials, that hits, right? So, yeah, um, we definitely, as we keep on mentioning on the show when we talk about economics, right? We got the macroeconomic situation that is relatively good, but then different people in different places and in different careers are experiencing this economy in very different ways. If you work in one of the affected tariff sectors, you are feeling it way more than those of us who don't. If you happen to be living in a town, like Windsor or Oshawa, where there's a lot of auto manufacturing, you might be feeling it a lot more than in other places. If you are a student or a young Canadian, given the unemployment rates, you are probably feeling it a lot more than a lot of people. If you're stuck in a job that you really don't like, but there's no mobility outside of your job to work in another corporation, or no way to make a lateral or vertical move, you're feeling it in a different way. So there is no commonality here. Everybody's situation, as it always is different because we're all different people and living different lives. But uh, the differences are particularly sharper and uh, more deeply felt at this particular time. According to Abby Hughes of CBC, when we're looking at our inflation numbers, and this is from May 19th, our annual inflation rate rose to 2.8% in April, according to Statistics Canada, in large part due to soaring prices at the pump. Energy prices overall rose a whopping 19.2% year over year in April, following a 3.9% increase the month before. Again, you're going to have Pierre Poilièvre and the Conservatives try to claim that it's Mark Carney who single-handedly raised the price of gas 19.2%, and that nothing that was going on in the world had anything to do with that. Or the, as a clause, who Kit Linda was referring to, calls him the orange baboon south of us. He had a hand in that too. Let's put it that way. Statistics Canada said the cost of gasoline specifically rose even quicker and was 28.6% higher year over year, thanks to the supply crunch in the Strait of Hormuz and because of the switch to more expensive summer blend of gasoline. So, summer blend gasoline already more expensive, and then we have a 28.6% year over year increase. For those of you who were expecting to feel the benefit of the cut in the excise tax on fuel, you're probably not feeling it. And the news that, well, it could be 5 cents higher than it is now is probably extremely, not even cold, just frigid comfort to you at the moment. It's almost as if the government would have been better off not doing anything and maintaining the revenue so that it could actually provide something rather than a 5 cents per liter discount for those who go to the pumps on a regular basis, and a discount that who knows if that's actually been um, passed on to you, whether or not the oil companies, the gas companies have just gobbled it up themselves. So, uh, you have to do it because in politics, often it's the thing that is most visible. And since all of us are on the road, whether we drive or not, at some point, and all of us pass by gas stations, and gas stations put the price right up there on big signs for everybody to see every day as you go by. It's probably one of the places that symbolically you do want to take some action on, because if you don't, it just leaves uh, a path wide open to drive an 18-wheeler through for the opposition. So you have to take some action to neutralize. But I'm not sure that uh, the value for the money that we spend on gas taxes, that gas tax cuts, um, is as good as we could do if we decided to spend that money a little more strategically. I have no numbers to back that up. That's just a speculation or a gut feeling on my part. Maybe it is the most effective way to do something, uh, but I don't see it. Um, Top of mind and intuitively, it doesn't seem to be the case for me. But I'm open to be convinced. I would need to see the data. Goes on to say the U.S. and Israel's war with Iran has shuttered the strait, which has driven prices for up worldwide. The agency noted the federal government's move to suspend the fuel excise tax mid-month helped moderate the April price increase. And there is a little bit of a graph here, which is showing something because remember, kits and cubs, there are various measures when we measure inflation. You have the headline number and you have core inflation, and then you have numbers that strip out the most volatile elements and things of the like. And according to this graph here, you can see that how the price of gas is specifically affecting what is going on here. If you're looking at this graph, which has been supplied by Statistics Canada, the blue line is all items and the red line is all items excluding gas. So when you see the all items, which includes gas, you can see that we got to 1.8% in February 2026, and you can see the sharp move up to 2.8 in those 2 months. But on all items, when all items was at 1.8, all items excluding gas was at 2.4 in February, and all items excluding gas is still going down. It's now at 2, which is literally the Bank of Canada target on the nose. So, and that's another thing that goes in to explain what Kit Linda was bringing to our attention, thanks to Claus Kellerman, that the economy is hitting people differently because, again, you're seeing all items excluding gas. Inflation is actually going down, but because gas is up 28.6% year over year, that's a whole extra full point on inflation over the past 2 months, which is kind of extraordinary when you think about it. High energy prices were also the driving factor behind March's inflation rate rise to 2.4%. Ottawa's decision to remove the consumer carbon price a year earlier, meanwhile, has skewed the annual price comparison higher in April. Nixing the carbon price took roughly 18 cents off the cost of a liter of gas in April 2025. While that move took some steam out of the headline inflation rate over the past 12 months, that reduction has now fallen out of the annual comparison, pushing inflation higher rather than depressing it. So basically, from the moment that we removed the consumer carbon tax, because we have the year over year inflation increase number is a rolling number. So the 13th month gets dropped off and the most recent month gets added in. We are now a full year since the cut of the consumer carbon price has taken place, so that the effect of that drop has worked its way through an entire year and is no longer reflected in the data that is here, because we are now comparing a point in time this year to a point in time last year where the consumer carbon price had been eliminated, rather than a period that it had been eliminated with a period in which it still existed. Clothing and footwear prices also rose 2% in April after falling 0.4% in March. CIBC senior economist Andrew Grantham said in a note to clients that higher prices for airfares tied to spiking fuel costs were not captured in the April inflation data because those transactions are recorded when the flight is taken, not when the ticket is purchased. He said he expects to see those pressures show up more in the summer inflation readings. While gas and energy prices have soared, prices in other areas have not done the same. Rents continue to climb, but at a slower pace, according to Statistics Canada. Nationally, rents rose by 3.6% year over year, down from 4.2% in March, and grew at the slowest rate in British Columbia. Food inflation also eased to 3.5% in April, down from 4% in March, as grocery items such as chicken, fresh vegetables, coffee, and tea saw the pace of price hikes slow following sharp increases early in the year. That might continue for vegetables as more and more things that are going to be available to us are things that are grown in Canada. We have a bit of advantage on the fertilizer issue because we have the ability to supply our own. Um, we import less in the summer months from the United States, where, of course, not only do they have all the excess gas prices, the excess fertilizer costs, but also the costs of the tariffs on anything that happens that they happen to import, or that to make whatever it is that they make, and then we import over here. So that's something that we want to look for. So we might get a temporary break on food inflation for a little bit as we eat more of our domestic product. Let's put it that way. Prices for tour travels fell 11% in April after rising 11.5% the month prior. BMO chief economist Doug Porter pointed to measures of core inflation which strip out volatile measures like fuel and food and rose at a far slower pace than overall inflation. Quote, looking beyond the nasty business at the gasoline pumps, this report is unambiguously soft, Porter wrote in a note to investors. If it weren't for those bothersome items like filling up your car and paying for groceries, there would be almost no inflation. So again, when you have Pierre Poilièvre running around saying, things are terrible, Mark Carney is single-handedly raising the price of food. No, that's not what's happening. And if it wasn't basically, again, for the orange baboon, making sure, doing all he can to raise the price of food, the price of fertilizer, the price of aluminum, the price of sulfur, the price of helium, the price of gas, the price of oil, the price of shipping, we'd almost have no inflation. We're managing everything else relatively well. Porter said that rising energy prices might be spurring people to hold on to their money and not buy other things, which could be putting disinflationary pressure on other sectors. Grantham said that the softness in core inflation could give some breathing room to other sectors and prevent inflation from rising as much, even when the higher cost of gas starts working its way into other industries. And that's one of the things that the Bank of Canada has said that they're looking for. They are very much looking at the other metrics, the core inflation, the underlying one, to see whether or not they will have to raise rates or decrease rates depending on how the situation evolves. And so here, this news that there's some extra breathing room will be of some relief to the bank here, because what they really are looking for is for signs that the gas inflation is starting to infect other sectors of the economy. And when that happens, they might be more inclined to take action. At the moment, they seem to be inclined to hold steady and wait till there's a signal one way or the other with regard to whether or not we are going to need to either increase interest rates to try to cool inflation, or whether or not we would have to try to decrease interest rates to try to spur economic activity if inflation is somewhat uh, still staying within the range, but economic activity is going down. And as we mentioned yesterday, or as we were trying to mention yesterday, as we were trying to end the show, but things went a little awry technologically in the United States. There's a little bit of a decrease this morning, but there have been some very, very sharp increases to the U.S. 30-year bond rate and the 10-year bond rate. The 10-year bond rate is particularly important because things like mortgage prices and credit card debt rates and stuff like that are set based on that. Um, but we've had some spikes well over the 5% mark for the 30-year, hitting close to 5.2%. And 5.5% would be considered a very significant psychological barrier. Not that 5 already wasn't, but 5.5 would definitely signal something. And for the 10-year, I think it was 2.6 that they're looking for as a sign that we might be in a very terrible, more than danger zone. We're in the danger zone now, as certain economic outlets are reporting. And that one's a little closer. That one's at a 2.5 something yesterday when we were checking. So those rates as well are dragging up the Canadian 10 and 30-year bond, but um, not in a manner that is as proportionately high. So basically, it's creating a situation where the spread between the Canadian and the US bond yields is growing, and which means investors are demanding, they're considering US bonds to be riskier and they are demanding a higher coupon rate. Now, initially, that can lead lots of investment to go towards buying US bonds versus Canadian bonds because the return rate is better, um, which could cause our dollar to decrease. So we have to, and can then affect our international buying power. So we have to look at that and monitor that as well. But for the moment, we seem to be doing okay. The United States, however, seems to be on a down hill slope, and that is gaining speed, especially when you consider the overall size of their debt. If it gets to a point where the United States is starting to be considered such a risk that investors are demanding coupon rates that reach a certain level, I'm not sure where that breaking point is, then it creates a situation where a lot of people might be more interested in selling US treasuries than buying them. And if that starts to happen, um, we're in a whole other territory. And then things can pick up speed very quickly because there could be defensive behavior that people engage in that actually has the effect uh, of accelerating uh, the roll downhill faster than it would be if people still had the confidence. So a lot of this depends on the confidence people have in the United States being able to pay their debts. And we're talking about a country, number one, that seems to like to uh, play a lot with the idea that they are not going to fund their debt. Every year, there seems to be a big difficulty within Congress to get them to approve a bill that says that they are actually going to cover their debt ceiling bills, as they call it, which doesn't inspire confidence. And we happen to have a president at the present moment that has a long and storied personal history of not paying his bills. So one has to take that into account as well. Should the coupon rate become high enough when the bill comes due, will the U.S. administration simply pass some type of law or executive order that says, you know what, we don't have to pay our debts this time, which would send markets in turmoil. So there's a lot going on here. In addition, if we are looking at Canadian data, because there was the inflation But there was also some jobs data that came out not too long ago as well. We didn't have much time to look at it when it did, just because of all the other things going on with energy announcements and electricity grid doubling, announcements having to do with, well, some of the major projects starting and revamping rules to get projects of all kinds, not just major projects, approved. So there's been a lot of going on. So let's see if I can find that employment data for you as well, because it came out uh, a little earlier than the inflation data earlier this month, May 8th, according to Thomson Reuters. Canada's unemployment rate rose to a 6-month high of 6.9% in April as the economy lost 18,000 jobs, Statistics Canada data showed, indicating a continued weakness in the labor market, which has struggled in the face of U.S. tariffs and trade uncertainty. While Canada has added 67,000 jobs since April 2025, since the start of this year, it has lost a cumulative 112,000. So basically, we went on in the last year, at the beginning of the first half of that, we were gaining lots of jobs. Since the beginning of this year, we have not been. So it's eating in the net, eating into the net. So yeah, over the past year, we've added 67,000 jobs. But there was a time at which that was 179,000 jobs when we were looking at that rolling number. So we are we're on a bit of a downslope here. We're starting to feel things. Last month's loss means that Canada has lost jobs in 3 out of the 4 months so far this year, showing a rocky start for the labor market, according to CIBC economist Andrew Grantham. The drop was concentrated in full-time jobs, which lost a net of 46,700 people, offset by a gain of 29,000 jobs in the part-time sector. Um, Better than nothing in terms of, at least there's some jobs gained in the part-time sector, but most people who are looking, well, let's put it this way: there's most people are looking for full-time jobs at this point. The net overall decline in employment over the first 4 months of 2026 was also concentrated in full-time work, which fell by 111,000 between January and April, according to StatsCan. Average hourly wages of permanent employees, a metric closely tracked by the Bank of Canada to gauge rise in inflation expectations, grew 4.8% from a year earlier versus 5.1% in March. So a little bit of slowing in the rise of salaries, but the pace of salary increase is outpacing inflation still. The participation rate, the portion of the population over the age of 15 that's economically active, edged up to 65% in April from 64.9% the prior month, Statistics Canada said. A higher participation rate, along with a higher unemployment rate, indicates more people were searching for work, which could be a positive because either people are feeling that there's work out there, or could be a negative because they're feeling crunched. And for those of people that have decided to take themselves out of the market for a while until things got better, realizing they're not getting better and getting back into the market, one or the other. The unemployment rate among the core aged workforce, those aged 25 to 54, as well as among the youth, increased to 6% and 14.3% respectively. The goods producing sector, which is the most exposed to U.S. tariffs, saw employment drop by 26,800 jobs in April, while the services sector, where 4 out of every 5 people are employed in Canada, reported a 9,100 job gain. So again, see, this is what I'm telling you when we're talking about, the various economies. If you're in the service sector, you're probably doing better than if you're in the goods producing sectors. The economy is extremely uneven for all of us. On the other side, the healthcare and social assistance sector and the business and building sector both posted job gains in April. Analysts polled by Reuters had predicted net job gains of 15,000 and the unemployment rate of 6.7%, almost mirroring the month of March when employment rose by 14,100 and jobless rate remained the same. The Bank of Canada said in its monetary policy report last month that indicators such as the employment rate, hours worked, and job vacancies suggest slack or underutilized capacity in the labor market, although layoffs remain modest. The looming uncertainty around the future of the North American free trade deal and the knock-on impacts of higher prices from the Iran war has continued to layer over the impact of U.S. tariffs on the economy for over a year. Indeed, Canada's senior economist Brendan Bernard said subdued economic growth indicated that tough times in the job market were likely to continue in 2026. Quote, difficult conditions facing job seekers, whether it's youth looking to break into the market or the unemployed trying to get back to work, linger. There's little sign of shifting into high gear anytime soon, Bernard wrote in a note. So that's what's going on a little bit economically here for us, kits and cubs, um, as we take on these topics that we are going to talk about today. Before we get in those bigger topics, I think we need to have a little celebration and congratulations to the Montréal Victoire, who, as their name suggests, were victorious in their PWHL pursuit of the Walter Cup, defeating the Ottawa Charge last night. It was a close game for a while, and then somewhere in the third, scoring opened up. Montréal won the game 4-0, winning the series 3 matches to 1. Ottawa Charge, the bridesmaids, 2 years in a row. So frustrating for those of us who are Ottawa fans. But so sad for Ottawa, but very happy for Canada because for the first time in its existence, the Walter Cup comes to Canada, which is interesting. Well, not interesting, but I keep on saying that. I heard people saying the cup comes back to Canada. I'm saying, no. Well, how does it come back to Canada? We hadn't had it yet. But the cup is coming home. We had an all Canadian final, and the PWHL had a fantastic year this year with definite increases in viewership and attendance, which is great over the course of the year. They still do not have a full contract for broadcast rights in the United States, but they do have that in Canada. But the broadcast rights situation might start to be taken care of in the United States, given that the PWHL has also announced that it is expanding by 4 teams. So it started with an original 6, added 2 for this season, and there will be 4 more teams next season. Las Vegas, Detroit, Hamilton will get one, and I believe that the most recent one announced was San Jose. So there you go. In the space, as it enters its 4th season, the PWHL will have doubled its number of teams from the original 6 to 12. And as mentioning, the PWHL successfully increased its attendance by 28% season over season, averaging 9,304 fans per games and surpassing 1 million total single season attendees. The growth has been primarily driven by the Takeover Tour, which is a strategic transitions into larger primary arenas and successful market expansion. And this is a data that was released at the end of last month here. Was that last month? Yeah, April 30th, 2026. Yes, indeed. Yes, attracted 1,116,497 fans across 120 regular season games, 71% increase from the league's inaugural season in 23-24. So 28% year over year, 71% increase from the inaugural season. Of course, there are more teams as well. Average attendance across all primary home venues grew by 35% over the season. On April 4th, the league set an attendance record in the U.S. for women's ice hockey when a sold-out crowd of 18,006 fans watched the New York Sirens host the Seattle Torrent at Madison Square Gardens. The PWHL started with 6 teams, of course, and then 2 expansion franchises, the Vancouver Golden Eyes and the Torrent from Seattle, began to play this season. There you go. So good success for the league. Hopefully, it continues to grow and expand. It looks like they've got a good thing here, and the bet on professional women's sports was a very, very good one. Turns out there was a market for it. Who knew? Apparently, pretty much everyone. but we still needed to convince people to take a chance on it. But there you go, because we've been being told for years that there's a market for this. No, no, nobody wants to see women play sports. Yeah, we do. Actually, we really, really, really do. So, yeah, this is good stuff. This is very, very good stuff. And a little side note: rapper, Hall of Famer, Rock and Roll Hall of Famer, Music Hall of Fame, Flava Flav, uh, congratulated the Montréal Victoire on their victory and invited them to come down. I believe it is to Las Vegas that he has got going on. Um, can't remember off the top of my head what it's called. The she, it has she, but Flava Flav has been noted over the years for being a big fan of women's sport, even supporting certain Olympic team. Can't remember if it was the women's water polo team, but the particularly, I mean, Snoop Dogg was also in it. Snoop Dogg was supporting curling. There were some, I believe, some musicians that had supported a speed skating team at one point, a water polo team at another point in the United States. But he's hosting something called She Weekend, and it's taking place in September at some point at in Las Vegas, Nevada. It's taking place at MGM Park from July 16th to July 19th. And he says in his tweet promoting it, real men wear pink and support women sports. So there you go. And he also has a GoFundMe there to say, he goes, many of y'all asked how you can support and donate to our female athletes in the celebration. So I created a GoFundMe. I'm hopeful this can have an impact beyond the weekend and help those that represent the best of us. So there's that as well. And there he goes. This is a tweet. Congratulations to the PWHL champions Montréal Victoire on your victory. Y'all just earned yourselves an invite to Las Vegas for Flava Flav's She Weekend. Thanks to MGM Resorts International for the quick yes on extra hotel rooms. So hopefully they will be able to go and attend and have a moment to elevate the sport and to elevate the league. That would be absolutely fantastic. You know what? He's I'm I like this. I like seeing men coming out to absolutely support women in their pursuits and to stand by them. Let them shine, of course, but stand by them shoulder to shoulder, and the men being the cheerleaders for a while, which is nice. So there you go. Yeah, it was the U.S. water polo team that he supported at the Paris Olympics. So nice to see that. Just nice to see that, and nice to see the Montréal Victoire their due, and nice to see that the larger world of celebrity is given their backing to this, and making it such that everybody has their moment. So yeah, there you go. Just who knew? Who knew that Flava Flav watched women's hockey? All right. So now that we have done the appropriate celebrating and that we have earned our Canadian card, also probably be a good time, or maintain our Canadian credentials, I should say, probably a good time to mention as well that the next round of the Stanley Cup playoffs are underway, and the Montréal Canadiens are in the semifinals, and game one against the Carolina Hurricanes takes place tonight at 8 p.m. Eastern time. So, count your flags and get ready to do some cheering. We definitely need Wouldn't it be great if we had both cups in Canada this year? The Walter Cup and Sir Lord Stanley's? That would be a very nice thing. But we need to retrieve our cup. We really do. And then there was Chantal Hébert, I think on a Peter Mansbridge podcast, who made a joke stating that she was worried for American football, given that Donald Trump just went to China to negotiate a deal, because if us negotiating a deal with China means that China's got to cancel hockey and steal our Stanley Cup, well then. Donald Trump making a deal with China, shouldn't that mean that they are going to they're coming for American football, and they're going to take away the Super Bowl cup? Just saying. I like Chantal every now and then. She just needles a little bit. All right. Um, let's see what we have as well for you, since we are talking about some good news. Let's talk about some good news for Canada as it pertains to Monsieur Pierre Poilièvre. A lot of you yesterday uh, were noting in the chat that Pierre had a new video out, and I am not going to play it for you, um, because, um, well, let's be totally honest. Um, he's irrelevant, and unless he says something of any particular significance, or something that is helpful, uh, at least not saying something that he hasn't been saying uh, for a long time, as Adam Zivo pointed out uh, in his Shots Fired from Inside the House critique of the Pierre's performance at the Canada Strong Free Conference. Uh, Same old lines, same old things, same old tired act, same old tired shtick. Keeps on making me think of a scene from the movie Evita, when she and Migali, I think, are both performing at a fundraiser later on, many years after they've met, when she becomes a bit of a star in her own right. And uh, he's still singing the same song he sang when they met. And she looks at him and she goes, "Your act hasn't changed much." And he returns, "Neither has yours." So, uh, every time I see Pierre, I get a little bit of that vibe. But Pierre did another one of his videos, and two slight differences. Now he's not walking and talking at us while pointing his fingers in our face or flapping his arms in some way. Now, he has decided to make a change of some kind. Uh, that is true. Uh,
You ever been
um, Walking, he's running, and he has decided to wear significantly tighter shirts, it would appear. His thing is called Outrun the Bear, which, of course, makes me think, uh, once again, MGTOW Millhouse, when you refer to bears, you just keep on reminding me why women often say they would choose the bear. Uh, they don't want to outrun the bear, they're running to the bear. Just saying. So yeah, get Linda. He needs a sports bra. Oh, naughty. Yes, he did call it that, Kid Saucy. He did call it Outrun the Bear. Yes, he did. Great speech. Trying to outrun his beer, most likely. Oh, you're a caddy. You're a damn. I thought I was petty. Jeez. Wow. Okay. Uh, man. Wow. Um, Yeah. So, uh, he's out there, being irrelevant, and, you can tell, he is out there being irrelevant because of a piece of news, that came out, the found it in a publication called The Hub, and it, comes to us to see, it's an editorial, basically. So is there a particular author? Is it just it's from the editorial board? Okay. And, well, let's put it this way. Pierre is having some trouble, as you can tell. He had trouble convincing the residents of Carleton to give him yet another term, which meant he had to negotiate someone a dirty backroom deal, as he would like to call them, for an MP to leave the commitment to the people they pledged to serve by abandoning their seat and leaving it open for Pierre Poilièvre. Of course, it happened to be the safest or second safest seat possible because, well, Pierre loves a sure thing. So he went to Battle River Crowfoot, kind of campaigned there, not really, won the seat, uh, is rumored to have never returned since. Don't know how true that is, but if he has returned, it certainly isn't all that often. That's for sure. And currently, he seems to forget that he represents an Alberta riding, given the list leak and his utter and complete lack of concern for their safety and well being. And one might even say utter contempt, given that he does not feel motivated to speak to their concerns or to take in any action to help keep them safe or to give them information that they could need or use to keep themselves safe, particularly their personal data, so that are not of any type of financial fraud or identity theft, that being the least of their potential worries. Um, so had to do that, won that, and then had to basically coordinate or rig his leadership review. So to make it such that it would take place on a cold weekend in Calgary in January, at the same time that there was a convention going on in Ontario, so that they couldn't come and vote against him. And then had, for the most part, handpicked delegates who are rumored, according to the word on the tweet, to have pre-pledged their support for him, and then he picked up 84% or something like that there, which still means that 16% paid for the privilege of a flight, a January weekend in Calgary, hotel, food, meals, everything, for the privilege of voting no. So that was an interesting thing. Of course, that 84% was manufactured. They keep on doing that Danielle Smith thing. 84% of our base wants me to stay. No, 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 no. 84% of mostly hand-picked delegates who already pledged allegiance to you before being chosen as a delegate said that they want your leadership to continue. The membership itself was not allowed to vote. And then we got some public opinion polling seeming to indicate that far, far, far less than 84% or 87% of conservative voters or voters who identify as conservative voters would like him to stay. In fact, more of them would like him to go. So that wasn't very good. He has repeatedly stuck his foot in his mouth several times and seems to not really have his heart in his criticisms anymore. And then basically recently showed up at the Canada Strong and Free thing and said, I'm not going to change a thing. I'm going to keep on doing the same damn things that did not get me the victory, that have made it such that I have declined a lot in the last year. That makes it such that I now have instead of a 26-point lead, a 26-point gap on favorability with Mark Carney. That there is nobody in the country, unless other than the super mega diehards that want me to stay in power. And I have now uh, worked after a full year of Mark Carney, a little bit more than a full year of Mark Carney as Prime Minister now and post election. I have worked my party into the incredibly enviable position of being 11 points behind the current Liberals. And my strategy is basically now to try to fight off everybody in my party and just basically shit post as much as I can about Mark Carney until someday, somehow, he either makes a mistake, trips up, or people get tired of him. But people will not be coming to me because they actually like me or my policies or anything like that, but because the other guy will have screwed up or people would have gotten tired of him because I still have nothing more to offer than the very little or almost nothing I was offering before. And I have no new tricks. And I'm incapable of learning new things. That led to him losing a certain number of his MPs to floor crossings. Also not good, and resulting on April 13th, him essentially gift wrapping and hand delivering a majority to Mark Carney. You would think that all these things combined would make it so that the party would be itching to turf him, but it seems that that's not the case yet. Or is it? Because according to this editorial piece from the Hub, it would appear that when he enters the room of his own people, they are much less likely to be enthusiastic to see him. In fact, according to this editorial, it says during the 2025 federal election campaign, successful conservative candidates mentioned Pierre Poilièvre in 21% of their Facebook posts. That figure has collapsed to just 9.5% since the start of the federal election until April 2026. As Edward and Guy's article, Poilievre featured in only 9.5% of CBC MP Facebook posts since 2025 federal election began, documented in a detailed scrape of nearly 30,000 Facebook posts from 122 Conservative MPs. The party's social media apparatus is louder than ever. Overall, caucus post volume has more than doubled, but the leader himself is increasingly absent from the message. So, conservatives are posting even more than they were before. They are flooding the zone even more with their poorly conceived and not well received message. But the number of times they are referring to Pierre or showing pictures of him with it has decreased by more than half. Now, in sheer numbers, that would probably mean that the number of times Pierre is mentioned overall hasn't decreased all that much. It's just being drowned in the zone that they are flooding with much more content, either about themselves or their particular ideologies or their party, without mentioning Pierre. Now, I don't know if the Conservative Party, which tends to be a little control freakishly managed, as we've heard from past articles, has a quota that says that Pierre must be mentioned this number of times, and they are still adhering to that. They're just trying to drown him out with additional content that doesn't measure him, or whether or not this is just an organic thing. But yes, a detailed scrape of nearly 30,000 Facebook posts from 122 Conservative MPs shows that the leader is increasingly absent from the message. The gap between organizational noise and leadership presence tells us something important about where the Conservative Party of Canada stands heading into its second year in opposition. The raw numbers are striking, and guys, I'm having trouble reading today. And Guy's analysis covers 29,408 posts across 58 weeks, even during the January leadership review, which Poilievre won with 87% support from the party's membership. I think I said 84 a couple of times in above previously, so gentle correction on myself. It was 87. He appeared in only 17% of MP posts. That was during the leadership review. It had dropped from 21.5% to 17. And it had probably started dropping below 17, rose to 17% during the leadership review, which was peak promotional time for him within his own party. But still. Now, again, one could say that given that it was pretty much a sure thing, there's no need maybe to get to 21% if one wants to be fair. But still, not it's still a decrease. By contrast, Mark Carney has overtaken Poilièvre in Conservative MP Facebook mentions, a reflection of how thoroughly the Prime Minister set the political agenda. So it seems that the additional content might not be the party members promoting themselves or promoting their party, but just trying to tear down Mark Carney. Conservative MPs are not going quiet. They are simply finding it easier or more useful to talk about the enemy than to champion their own standard bearer. This is not merely a communications curiosity, it reflects a structural fracture within the caucus. On one side sits a cohort of MPs who enthusiastically amplify Poilièvre's name and image across their feeds, treating their social media presence as an extension of the leader's office. On the other side is a growing number of MPs who never mention him at all. So it's not even a situation where everybody is mentioning him, but they're just mentioning him less. There are people that are mentioning him just as much as before, even perhaps more. Of course, the Kool-Aid chuggers at the cake stand, and people that have just stopped mentioning him altogether because he's dead weight and irrelevant. Even his own party caucus finds he's irrelevant. Ouch. The widening gulf between these two groups, even as Poilièvre secured a strong leadership review result, suggests that formal loyalty and enthusiastic public advocacy are diverging, which means the pool of potential floor-crossers might be even larger than we thought after Marilyn Gladue left, who was on nobody's list. The pattern is clear. Defections produce silence, and silence seeds the narrative to Carney's Liberals. Poilièvre himself has projected confidence at the Canada Strong and Free conference. He pledged to stay on as leader and argued against changing his style or core messaging. Yes, because the Liberals are trying to get him to change, and he is standing defiant. He will not change, which made Liberals all across the country laugh in liberal Canadian because the Liberals are going, no, Pierre, you just stay exactly as you are. You just keep talking and you keep doing you like you've been doing you since Mark Carney came along. Please don't change a damn thing. Man. Talking about the floor crossings, of course, saying that it's deepened the problem. Each departure doesn't just subtract a seat, it demoralizes the remaining members who are expected to carry the social media fight. But a leader insisting he need not change while his own caucus quietly edits him out of its public communications is a leader with a disconnect problem. The 87% leadership review vote proved institutional legitimacy. It did not provide enthusiasm, the kind that shows up unprompted in an MP's Facebook feed. Facebook remains a major part of the Conservative Party's messaging strategy. 70% of Canadian social media users are on the platform, and Conservative voters use it at similar rates. When MPs choose not to feature their leader on the channel where the party's base lives, it's a meaningful signal, not a glitch. Parties recover from election losses. They do not easily recover from a caucus that stops selling its leader to the voters who put them there. If Poilièvre cannot close the gap between his formal authority and his disappearing social media presence among his own MPs, Conservative opposition will remain exactly that: opposition without direction, volume without a voice, and volume in both sense of the word, in terms of the loudness and the sheer amount of content that they keep trying to flood the zone with. But again, all of it without direction, without voice, and one could say without any real purpose, at least one that is intended to serve the best interests of Canadians that happen to not be already high ranking within the party. I guess that needs to be specified. So, yeah, things really, really not going well for Pierre. His own caucus doesn't even want, or a significant part of his own caucus doesn't even want to put his couldn't happen to a douchier guy, couldn't it? And the news doesn't stop getting better for Pierre Poilièvre. Someone else decided to leave his ship, Kits and Cubs. He lost his communication to Katie Merrifield soon around the time that Marilyn Gladu left, and it would appear that she has gone off to work on a leadership campaign, one of the candidates for the BC Conservative Party race, which, if you happen to be in British Columbia, a little early, democracy is something that you do. And a member of the BC Conservative Party, you do have your ballots to vote, and the leadership race closes on the 30th. So please be sure to get your votes in soon, in time enough to be counted, because it's already the 21st. So we'll be finding out soon about that. So not only did he lose Katie Merrifield, who clearly, took on the job, uh, assuming that she might be director of communications for a prime minister, and that didn't happen, and therefore tendered her resignation and moved on to another project, which is being the communication, or setting herself up to be the communication advisor for the person she hopes will be the leader of the BC Conservative Party, which is now technically leading in the British Columbia polls. So, if she wanted to be the director of communications for the leader of an actual party that appears that it might have the opportunity to go somewhere, her bread was not buttered remaining in the Poilievre camp. That's for sure. And she decided to take a pass on staying longer. Well, that there is another person, the Poilievre camp, that has decided it is enough, and that would be his of staff, according to Catherine Morrison of the Canadian Press. Conservative leader Pierre Poilièvre is getting a new top aide after Ian Todd announced plans to retire this summer. Steve Outhouse will take on the role of chief of staff in addition to his job as Conservative campaign manager. Oh, that's going to go over very well. Because that's exactly what you want. You want your campaign manager to be distracted with everyday staffing issues. Wow. While Aaron Woodruck will serve as deputy chief of staff, I'm not sure if that was a sudden decision on the part of Mr. Todd that left Mr. Poilievre unprepared, or whether or not it's just that the Conservative Party is having trouble attracting talent, so therefore people need to double up on positions. Or whether Pierre is just simply being paranoid and he's not too confident on bringing new people in. Because it could be that. He has plenty of reason to be paranoid, given that he doesn't know where the next defection is going to come from or when. In a letter to the Conservative caucus and staff in Poilievre's office, Todd said he remains fully committed to the leader of the Conservative movement, just not as his chief of staff. He says he looks forward to the day Poilievre becomes prime minister and Canada reaches its full potential once again. Sure you do. Poilievre thanked Todd for his half-century of service to Canada and said he did a phenomenal job in his office over the last 4 years. Todd is the latest high-profile staff member to leave Poilievre's office after his director of communications, Katie Merrifield, announced her departure earlier this year. Oh, darn. Poor Pee-Pee. Everybody's leaving him. His MPs are crossing to the other side. His caucus doesn't want to be seen with him in photos. His director of communications and chief of staff have gone away. Someone even throw in that Anida was looking for an apartment in Montreal for a few months after the campaign. Not sure if that has anything to do with it, but he must be feeling rather alone. Not to mention his constituents have abandoned him too. Wow. Oh well. Moving on. Sorry, don't have any sympathy for him. Sorry, when you run on wanting to use the notwithstanding clause to keep people in jail longer and remove most fundamental rights, you do not respect the law, and you provide aid and comfort to, pretty much domestic terrorists. You get no sympathy from me when what you tried to do starts to slip out from under you, and you are left all alone, as you should be. because nobody should be signing on. Nobody at all should be signing on to the crap you're proposing. So yeah, alone and abandoned is precisely where you should be, and our only point of dismay is that it is not happening swiftly enough for it to send a message to the entire conservative movement that please don't try this shit again. Really, we're just not that into it. On the other hand, the longer he stays around, the more damage he does to his party. That's fine with me. It's fine with a lot of us. Just saying. Let's keep on going. We got more news. There's lots of little tidbits of news today. Let's see here. Also, if we're talking about coming and goings, there are two of them within the UCP as well. Very shortly announced, the UC had a very interesting day for itself yesterday. Let me make a little side note because this kind of ties into it a little bit, and then we'll get into it. There was a little thing with Ambassador Pete Hoekstra, who we mentioned yesterday, withdrew from the Canada Strong and Free Conference. And then we found out a few days later about everything going on with the list leak. And then, in additional, we then found out that in addition to the list, that he is somehow has links to the actual app, the 10 times app that was used in order to illegally share individual information. And again, sharing someone's individual voter number really opens up the door to a lot of potential fraud in the future. He's a man that has a personal track record of foreign interference. Since he's arrived here, he's been undermining us. The SEPIs have been receiving aid and comfort from the US. They're on the record as it. He's from Michigan, as are the app developers. He essentially quarterbacked a campaign in which the app was used. He's close to the people involved with the app itself, but he was totally and completely unaware. Oh, he also works for a man that has a long track record of cheating as well. And but he was unaware, we are to believe, that the app could have been used for any of those purposes. We are supposed to believe. Well, it would appear that Ambassador Doucheface decided that it was time for him to run to a safe space. So he went on a podcast that was operated by conservative influencer Jasmine Lane, I believe it is, to, I guess, try to defend himself or explain things. Again, just very, very interesting here. That he would run to a conservative influencers podcast soon after that Press Progress article came out. But there's supposed to be no connection. Influencer of the guy who's the leader of the federal opposition party who represents a riding in Alberta and has not been able to say anything whatsoever. And it's not the first time that he appears on Jasmine Lane's podcast. There's an appearance for him that I see right in front of me from August 14th to 5. That says here the ambassador reveals the truth about something having to do with Kuzma and Canada and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, Conservative Party of Canada influencers helping the ambassador get his message of very implausible deniability out there. But we are to believe that there is no coordination happening. Ah. And if you believe that, once again, could I please um, introduce you or interest you in some ocean front property on the North Shore of Saskatchewan? Palm trees and, you know, beach volleyball all year long. So that's happening in the background. But in addition to that, the UCP had a very, very interesting day yesterday. It was marked with uh, two people deciding that they were not going to be running again. So we had Finance Minister Nate Horner announce that he was leaving. And let's see, what did he have to say? He put out this letter here and said, May 20th, 2026, tomorrow Premier Smith will be unveiling and swearing in her new cabinet. Yeah, she's having a little shuffle, wouldn't you know? It has been an honor to serve as a member of cabinet, first under Premier Kenny, and then being given the responsibility to be Alberta's Minister of Finance. He did a bang up job of that, and President of the Treasury Board by Premier Smith after our 2023 election win. When the Premier offered me this cabinet role, I told her it was likely that my second term would be my last. Uh huh. We're saying that now. Of course, we have no proof of whether or not that's true. As we have passed the halfway point of this term, I have had many conversations about the future, and I have decided that the original plan is still the best fit for me and my family, and that I will not be seeking re-election after this term. Again, or what he claims now was the original plan, because again, we have no proof that it ever was. I remain supportive of our United Conservative Party and Premier Smith. In discussing my plans with the Premier, we both felt it was important for the election year budget to be built by a member of cabinet who will be returning for re-election, and therefore I will not continue in my role as Minister of Finance and President of the Treasury Board. I thank the staff in my ministry office and department for their hard work and wish the team all the best as they move forward and begin preparations for Budget 2027. I will continue to serve as the MLA for the great people of the constituency of Drumheller Settler until the next general election in October 2027. Yes, Nate Horner, who presented the last budget that indicated that they would be down about $10 billion. And now that oil prices have jumped, and he would be able to have an opportunity to present the next budget that they will be patting themselves on the back and saying, oh my God, look at our prudent fiscal management. We did all those things to cut those immigrants, and look how well we've done, or something like that. He doesn't want to be there for that. Wonder why Nate doesn't want to be there for that moment of glory, to be able to crow about his incredible fiscal management, how he got Alberta back on track within the space of 1 year. Superhuman feat. Why would he not want that on his resume? Then there was another. From the Honorable Matt Jones, the MLA from Calgary Southeast. Since April 16, 2015, I've had the honor and privilege of representing the constituents of Calgary Southeast. I ran for office because I wanted to ensure our children had the same opportunity to live, work, and raise a family in Alberta. The previous government had raised taxes, increased regulatory burden, and damaged Alberta's reputation and balance sheet through anti-business and anti-energy policies. I'm sure. I am proud of our government's work to restore the Alberta advantage. Sure. The Alberta advantage of the worst funded schools, people dying in ERs, the highest electricity rates in Canada, a health service that is completely in the tank, multiple lawsuits, election controversies, the Moraes family seeming to be involved not in everything, but a lot of things. Okay. Sure, Alberta advantage of lowering taxes, reducing red tape, and championing Alberta's innovative and entrepreneurial industries like the renewable sector, which you kneecapped. Yes, championing. Oh, no, you call that championing. Sorry. And world-class energy sector. I am also, but not all parts of that world-class energy sector, clearly. I am also proud to have supported local school builds, private school builds, mostly, right? Community organizations and small businesses as the MLA for Calgary Southeast. Recently, I informed the Premier that I will not be seeking re-election and have asked to step back from Cabinet to support an orderly transition. I will continue to represent and serve the constituents of Calgary Southeast at this time. I would like to thank Premier Smith and before her Premier Kenny for entrusting me to serve as a member of the Treasury Board and later as a minister of several portfolios, including children's services, affordability and utilities, jobs, economy and trade, and hospital and surgical health services, all of which you've clearly made the province better. In each of these roles, I was supported by incredible ministry, department, and constituency staff, as well as by my cabinet and caucus colleagues. I thank each of them for their dedication, sacrifice, and work, working to improve the healthcare of Albertans, and promoting Alberta globally to attract investment and jobs have been the highlights of my career. I would also like to thank my family, constituents, volunteers, constituency association boards, the United Conservative Party, and others for their steadfast support over the past 8 years. I will continue to support Premier Smith and the United Conservative Government as we work to ensure Alberta remains the best place to live, work, and raise a family. Matt Jones, CFA, MLA for Calgary Southeast. Um, are these voluntary departures or are these a purge? Because on the tweet is that both of these MLAs for the UCP identify as federalists. And we kind of know what Danielle Smith is doing right now. So, yeah, uh, they're framed as departures that had been intended all along, or I think it's time to. Uh, but they also just both happen to be UCP MLAs that are a little bit more on the federalisty side of the spectrum. Mm, mm, mm. I see the comments here that Hoekstra needs to become persona non grata. And while I completely agree with you, the reason for which he probably isn't is probably a combination of choose your battles and the devil you know. If we did decide to send him back, we know that the orange baboon would have a hissy fit of epic proportions, and the last thing we need to do is draw more attention to ourselves in that particular way. And we all know that if we send Pete Hoekstra back, that the what we are going to get is a clone who also will be performing for an audience of one, also attempting to undermine us, and would probably be even more vindictive, given that he had to replace the person that they had originally put there. So, again, while it may be cathartically satisfying to tell him, get the F out, um, if it's not going to result in any material difference, why give a new person some time to introduce themselves and gain some benefit of doubt? Just keep the devil you know. At least you know how to handle them. It's probably what's going on, to be totally honest. Um, but yes, uh, there has objectively been way more than enough done to justify uh, putting a hip waiter to his Michigander backside and sending him back home. It would be justified if we were living in a normal world and having normal diplomacy. It would have been done already. There is no doubt. But we're not living in that world at the moment, and we're dealing with the world as it is. So, yeah, um, keep an enemy close. Or Bucky here says, "You're right. Of course, it's a card we should only play if there's a severe escalation." Indeed, but yeah. Uh, Kit Linda, I kind of think Hoekstra should stay even every time he opens his mouth, he makes us dig in even further to boycotting the US. Yeah, I mean, he is serving a useful purpose in terms of helping us to maintain our steely resolve. Yeah, we are Canadians. We do have the noted ability of being petty as fuck. But we need to be. Kid Bucky, remember normalcy. Hold on, let me have a moment there. Yeah, I do. I do. It hasn't been that long yet that I don't remember it. I do. I dream of it often. Kid Argosier gives, I really miss when politics were boring. I know, right? I am right with you. UCP, two people leaving. Then something interesting happened yesterday. Going to start with a little bit of an editorial here, and that's going to lead into it because I thought it was a take that I hadn't, not that I hadn't considered, but the binary dynamic, is she a separatist or is she not, in real life, kind of pulls us in many ways. And not sure if I'm going to be able to get this one here. Could be that it is behind a paywall here. But so I'll see if I can get it here. This particular editorial, if I am able to actually get access to it, gives us a third option. Is she a federalist? Is she a separatist? Or, is she an oil lobbyist masquerading as a politician, or a separatist masquerading as a federalist, or as a Federalist Party leader? This is according to Robert Urbach. What if Danielle Smith is not a separatist, but rather an opportunist who got in over her head? I take Alberta Premier Danielle Smith at her word when she says she supports a sovereign Alberta within a united Canada, which is the refrain she hauls out every time she's asked for a personal opinion on Alberta independence. I wouldn't take her at her word because I'm not actually sure what her word means here. But let's entertain the premise and go with it here for the purposes of this article. While Alberta's NDP is busy charging that the Premier and our entire caucus are separatists, period, Miss Smith's long tenure as a public figure in the province provides little evidence for the notion that she genuinely wants to see Alberta leave Canada. The Premier is not ignorant to the enormous financial, logistical, and political challenges that would come from a successful secession vote, but she's also not ignorant, or was not ignorant during her campaign for the leadership of the United Conservative Party in early days as Premier, to the enormous energy, organizational power, and financial resources that could be harnessed by stoking the fires of Western alienation. So she did just that, first by campaigning on and later passing the Sovereignty Act, which would allow her government to push back against federal laws it deems, quote, harmful to Alberta's interests, and then, quote, by changing the rules on citizen-initiated referenda, making it easier for separatists to put the question of Alberta independence to a vote. It was supposed to be a rather straightforward. Miss Smith would throw the separatists a bone or two in exchange for their support, but keep herself mostly out of the fray while reiterating her support for a united Canada. And that is why she really wanted this to be done by citizen initiative, and why she kept on bending over backwards for the separatists. Could offer another theory that she wasn't necessarily doing it to help them, but she was doing it because she needed a way of doing it that kept her hands as clean as possible. If she put the question on the ballot herself, her hands are not clean. But if it's a citizen initiative and she says, well, I just want people to have a chance to express themselves. We believe in being permissive. Well, then, it's like, I created the winning conditions for bad things to happen, but I'm not the one that proposed the bad thing to happen. And I'm not the one that made the bad thing happen. So it's not my fault. Pretty much. That option has now been removed from her, of course, as we know. But the Premier is now in a critical bind thanks to the decision by an Alberta judge that struck down the petition to get the separation question on the referendum ballot. Ms. Smith has said her government will appeal the decision, which concluded that, quote, the Crown failed to meet its duty to consult with Indigenous groups, but she's now facing mounting pressure to put the independence question on the ballot herself. Miss Smith is trapped. If she bypasses the petition and directly puts the question to a referendum, First Nation leaders have said they would consider it an attack on their people. Even if she uses the Federalist Forever Canadian petition to call a referendum, it would profoundly undermine her position as a Federalist, which would have knock-on effects on investment in Alberta, which is already suffering under the prospect of a separation referendum. We have that. And since we're talking things that are already suffering, this is supposed to link to something, but is not here. So let's try that one more time. See if that works. Very strange. Yes, I am not a robot. Let's move on to the next step. That's not going to work. Okay. But I know for all intents and purposes, the leader of ATCO, Nancy Southern, has already come out to say that things are already being felt in terms of the lack of investment. And this here that I'm trying to link to is something from the Calgary Chamber of Commerce that, as I look them out, stating that there are some issues that they are already seeing. So hopefully I can get that for some. Why is this so difficult to navigate? Okay, see, just take an aside here, as someone who is a communications person here, the one thing that annoys me more than anything else is people that don't design organizations, that don't design their websites in such a way that they would make things easy to find. Particularly when they've got news. So, if you want to find out anything about them, or you want to find their press releases, and they're hidden somewhere on their websites rather than up front. You guys don't have good communications people if you're doing that. Because, yeah. Two or three clicks to get to the news section, or to find out stuff about you specifically as an organization. That should not be happening at all. Just a little personal pet peeve of mine when it comes to that, particularly when I'm looking for stuff. It would appear, from what I can tell, that either that page that I'm looking for is completely gone, because I'm getting a weird blank page, or that there's just something wrong with the overall programming. So let's me take a look at this. There we go. A little clever sleuthing on my part, and I managed to find it. This was from back in March. A new survey conducted in partnership with the Alberta Chambers of Commerce finds that 51% of Calgary respondents say the current discourse around Alberta's separation from Canada is affecting the provincial economy, with 93% describing the impact as negative. The survey also points to more direct impacts, with 28% of Calgary respondents stating that the discourse is affecting their operations and 88% reporting a negative impact. Quote, "There's no doubt that Alberta has faced significant economic challenges over the past decade, stemming from policies that have strained regional growth and restricted the province from reaching its potential. says Deborah Yedlin, president and CEO at the Calgary Chamber of Commerce. Quote, but secession is not the solution. Even without confirmation of a formal referendum, businesses are already experiencing negative outcomes and economic uncertainty from the secession conversation. Businesses make decisions based on certainty and confidence in access to markets, capital, talent, and trade networks, and questions about Alberta's future in Canada disrupts those plans. That uncertainty is now shaping how businesses view the broader economic landscape. Businesses indicated that the potential for Alberta's separation is their most pressing concern, 53%, ahead of securing a tariff-free deal with the United States, building new pipeline capacity, or managing rising costs. So people are more concerned about the threat to their business that the discussion on separation could have than they are excited about the benefits that building new pipeline capacity can bring. Ouch. And Smith has focused on the pipeline as the way to do that, and she's negating that with the separation talk. And the separation talk is viewed, ends up being a net negative because it is more concerning to them than the potential benefit from the pipeline capacity. This stands out at a time of heightened trade disruptions and rapidly changing international geopolitics when stability matters most. Quote, our province has worked to enhance its competitiveness and attract investment and labor, yet this conversation introduces a new level of uncertainty that reduces business confidence and growth opportunities, says Yedlin. We cannot compromise our path forward, particularly at a time when we've seen considerable collaboration between the provincial and federal governments, including the Alberta-Ottawa MOU, now referred to as an implementation agreement rather than memorandum of understanding, intergovernmental alignment on environmental and impact assessments, and the recognition of Alberta as central to Canada's goal of becoming an energy superpower. Quote, our ability to realize that goal and continue to grow our economy depends not only on resolving regulatory issues, but also on attracting the investment capital requires to boost production and expand export capacity, Yedlin adds. The uncertainty created by secession discussions undermines our ability to do exactly that. Real progress comes through sustained cooperation between governments, cooperation that is already delivering tangible results and remains the most effective way to strengthen Alberta's economy. I will note here that Alberta is the province that has the second highest number of corporate headquarters in its province after Ontario. And one of the talking points that often is brought up when we're talking about the impact of secession on business is, have you ever wondered why it is that the headquarters of the Bank of Montreal are in Toronto? Very interesting to have the headquarters of an oil and gas company be moving to Manitoba or Ontario or Quebec, wouldn't it? 51% of respondents stated that the current discourse around Alberta's separation from Canada is impacting the provincial economy. Of those, 93% indicated the impact is negative. 27% of respondents reported no impact, and 22% said they don't know. 28% of respondents stated that the current discourse around Alberta's separation from Canada is impacting their business. Of those, 88% indicated that the impact is negative. When asked to rank a set of issues facing businesses by importance, 53% of respondents ranked Alberta's separation among their top three concerns. When asked about the impact of the separatist discourse on Alberta's economy, concerned respondents most commonly identified higher risk of recession, 83%, reduced business investment, including delayed or canceled projects, 83%, more business considering relocation or expansion outside Alberta, 74%, more difficulty attracting workers, talent leaving for other jurisdictions, 71%, and more difficulty expanding trade or business with other provinces, 60%. So, and they were worried about this way before March 9th, 2026, because March 9th, 2026 is when the report came out. So they were polled prior to that. We are now May 21st. And all of a sudden, this thing is becoming way more real and has way more legal wrangling around it. Alberta is not only looking like a province internationally to people who are watching that doesn't know whether or not it wants to remain in Canada, it's also looking like a province that can't competently run a democratic exercise as simple as a petition collection drive. That's not good. That's really not good. So yesterday, something happened in committee, and I've got a clip for you. comes to us courtesy of Rob Brickenridge, I believe it is. Journalist. Pretty good one as well. Um, let's see if I can bring it up to you. This is something that took place in committee during Alberta legislature, one of their committees, and it was the committee to which Danielle Smith sent the Forever Canadian petition originally to die. Let's call it what it is. And they were supposed to have a vote yesterday on what that committee would recommend. It's the Citizen Initiative Proposal Review Committee. They were supposed to have a vote. And as we all knew, well, we were wondering whether or not, but we pretty much suspected that Danielle Smith and the committee was going to recommend that they bring back the Forever Canadian petition from the dead and go ahead with that one as a referendum question, because the decision to quash the referendum from the separatists, even though Danielle Smith says that she is going to appeal when it's not certain that she actually has any standing, but she says that she is going to appeal. Well, that decision is not going to come, let's be serious, before October 19th. So if she really, 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 really wants that referendum, she has to find another way. And that other way is to put one on the ballot herself, something that she really, 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 really did not want to do. But unfortunately, the people that she seems to have bent over backwards for are so incompetently stupid or brazen or whatever that they created a situation that was impossible. In fact, they did it in such a way that it provoked an investigation from the Office of the Information and Privacy Commissioner, the RCMP, and also Elections Canada, despite the fact that Danielle Smith had previously passed legislation making it such that, not Elections Canada, Elections Alberta, making it such that Elections Alberta would never be able to investigate another thing ever again. And if ever they were able to investigate something, would never be able to conclude an investigation in it ever, ever, ever again. But the people she bent over backwards screwed up in a manner so epically monumentous that they were able to clear those hurdles, creating this impossible situation for Danielle Smith. Now, along the way, she signed that MOU. Well, that MOU was signed, and then now it's evolved into an implementation agreement. And well, the SEPIs are not happy with that for several reasons. One, it shows. Starts to give the inclination that Canada could work, and they definitely do not want that. But also, now you would think that true, genuine separatists, right, if there was to be a pipeline to the West Coast, well, they would like for that pipeline to be built and then just claim it for themselves, right? And if you had to choose between a pipeline going to the United States where the oil is being sold at a discount, or to the West where you can get market price for it, well, then it seems that it would be in your best interest in the future, if you wanted to become an independent country of Alberta and remain one, that you would pick that. But no, 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 no. You see, if the goal is to be an arm of the government of the United States that has gone into Venezuela and has taken the oil and has gone into Iran and thought that they were going to take the oil, and that didn't work out for them, and now that they need some more oil, well, then how about taking Alberta? And if you want to take Alberta oil, well, having a pipeline that would go west, sending the oil to Asian markets, is not in your interest. If you are actually working not only to create an Alberta state, but also the state of Alberta, working hand in hand with another nation, perhaps in an act of sedition or treason, in order to steal the resources of a country and put them in the pockets of another. Let's say, if that was going on, hypothetically. So, yeah, these separatists don't seem to be genuine separatists who want a genuine Alberta, because they oppose the pipeline. This particular pipeline, one going out west. So they're opposing it not only because the fact that Danielle Smith is showing that Canada can potentially work here is the least of the CEPI's concerns. They do not want that rich, very valuable oil going anywhere but south. Probably because the people who are allegedly financing them and are allegedly perhaps even offering them some military protection, if one is to believe certain of the statements that have been made, well, it's not in their interest for that oil to be going anywhere but south. So we have this. She's going to have to take now the Forever Canada proposal and turn it into a referendum. But she's going to have to do that because the people from Forever Canada, Thomas Kasich, when he filed his paperwork, there was an option for him. Now, yes, he did often speak of a referendum and wanting a referendum, but what matters bureaucratically, legally, is the piece that you actually sign. It's the paper you submit. And the paper he submitted is very, very clear on what it is he is asking for. Now, Danielle Smith has been working very hard to try to present Mr. Lukasik as being confused. He doesn't really know what he wanted. Mr. Lukasik is anything but unclear about what he wanted. And it seems that he and the 400 and nearly 500,000 Americans that signed that were given time at that committee to express themselves. They were given the entirety of a full 5 minutes. Total of 5 full minutes. And Mr. Lukasik, to his credit, made full use of those 5 minutes rather well, actually, to be totally honest. And the point basically rebutted all of the things that Danielle Smith was indeed trying to state here. He made it very clear that he was not necessarily seeking a referendum, that what he wanted was for there to be a legislative process where the discussion would be had and would be voted on so that the MLAs would be expressing themselves on where they stood. And barring that, I guess, or failing that, then a referendum would happen. So here, according to our friends from the breakdown, Alberta, who have the clips, here's Mr. Lukasik making it very clear that he is indeed not confused, as Danielle Smith would like to claim he is, or pretend that he is. Well, Mr. Lukasik talked about this, and then he had a paper that said that, so we don't, it seems that he doesn't know what he wants. Now he knows what he wants. The piece of paper he filled in tells you what he wants. That's all, the only official thing you have to go by, Danielle Smith and committee. But here it is, Mr. Lukasik, making a very important point and showing that he is indeed not at all confused.
I do not have a legal standing of either permitting you to put the question to a referendum nor stopping you from it. If you choose to put any question you want to a referendum, you will be the proponent of a referendum on breaking up Canada, and you will bear all the consequences of that position.
Boom. Do not put that on me. I don't have the power to do that. That's whether you take the question that we put in the document, considering that that you're going to have a referendum anyway, come hell or high water. You can do that. You can take our question and you can modify it, and in some way, and make it your own. But it is not going to be us that did this. We didn't ask for this. We don't want it. We didn't ask for it. So that, again, making it extremely clear. Another thing then he made clear here, let's see if I can find the clip for you. Says here, the UCP are very clearly trying to use today's committee hearings to create the argument that Forever Canadian created the expectation of a referendum, and therefore they should honor that, which Lukasik is patently saying was not the intent. And here he has what he's stating here, what the goal of Forever Canadian and the petition process was, because if anybody seems to be confused, it is Danielle Smith and UC. Mr. Kasich, again, I repeat, appears to be clear on what it is that he is seeking.
Of having a binding.
So let's go back to the beginning of this clip here.
We had members of the UCP party and the NDP party and the former Reform Party and Liberal Party all working together to keep this province within Canada and to counter any potential threat that at that time existed, was an existential threat that the separatist question would go forward. This was a very coalescing moment, very community building moment. This was a moment where after a rather divisive period following COVID and convoys and other things, where again, neighbors were not always talking to neighbors, this brought them together. So it was a very unifying process. And the only goal of Forever Canadian and the petition gathering process was to avert the danger of having a binding referendum that will spark a process that could possibly lead to Alberta separation, but also to sideline the economic damage that this already is causing to our province. Ms. Nancy Southern, the CEO of ATCO will tell you that. All major chambers of commerce will tell you that. So it was to minimize any negative impact on Alberta economy as well.
So there you go. Mr. Lukasik, again, showing, unlike what Danielle Smith is maintaining or trying to spin or put out there in the public sphere, that he is not in the least confused. And then, so, he had those statements out there. And let's see, what do we have here? Do we have another one from him? Just taking a look at here. Nope. That's about it. Okay. And then we had this moment happen. And this is a courtesy now of Mr. Rob Breckenridge bringing this to us. And this is going to be a couple of minutes long. So sit back and enjoy this. Because here we have instance of the UCP, Alberta UCP, showing just how duplicitous and deceptive they are, and at the same time, how utterly and totally incompetent they are. And it is something. It is definitely something indeed. Okay, that is not the right feed. Let's try this one instead. Is this showing up now? Takes a couple of seconds. There it is. Kids and Cubs, hold on to your hats.
Because I have just, I am interrupting these proceedings to call a point of privilege because I have just had the opportunity to review an absolutely shocking news release sent out already while this committee is in discussions that reads that the chair of the Select Special Citizen Initiative Proposal Review Committee, Brandon Lunty, issued the following statement on recommending a referendum question to Cabinet. The Select Special Citizen Initiative Proposal Review Committee, established to review Thomas Lukaszik's Forever Canada petition, has passed a motion that the Special Select Committee on Citizen Initiative Petition Review recommend the Government of Alberta include a question on the October 19th, 2026 provincial referendum that includes the option for Albertans to vote for Alberta to remain in Canada. It continues on with quotes from you, Mr. Chair. While we are debating this in this committee, oftentimes it feels like the politics of the UCP is a stage play to exercise their power to do what they want. But I very seriously raise this point of privilege now because it has been never more apparent than the fact that this committee is still meeting and still debating this motion, and a press release from you as the chair has already gone out. Mr. Chair, points of privilege in a similar vein have been raised in our legislature before, and raising a point of privilege is extremely sensitive, should be done rarely, and should be treated in a very serious manner. In this case, having, and I will say, Mr. Speaker, I rise on this point of privilege under Standing Orders 15 sub 5 and 23E. I will double check my references because we are having this discussion live and on the record now. That releasing the decision of a committee in advance of that decision being made absolutely breaches our rights as members and MLAs to engage in this debate and to be able to proceed. Now, Mr. Chair, from the practical guides to committees, it is my understanding that when an issue of privilege is raised in committee, that the appropriate thing to do to ensure that it is dealt with and raised in a timely way, that the chair will recognize the member, hear the question of privilege or contempt in the case of this incident, and I would suggest that this is a clear contempt and that the government has done this deliberately to undermine the work of this committee and our legislature against the rights of MLAs in this process. That the role of the chair in such instance is to determine whether the matter raised does in fact touch on privilege and is not a point of order, a grievance, or a matter of debate. Well, Mr. Chair, I would say your neutrality here is a bit of a challenge, given you are the one who is quoted in these releases, and so therefore you have already, approved and sent quotes to be used in future media releases? This is shameful, Mr. Chair. And now you are the one who is going to decide whether or not this raises to a point of privilege? I would suggest you have very little to decide here, Mr. Chair, that this should be raised to the Speaker at the earliest opportunity. The practical guide to committee continues: if the chair is of the opinion that the member's interjection deals with a point of order, grievance, or matter of debate, then the chair will rule accordingly. However, I would suggest that would be absolutely not an option in this scenario, given you yourself have approved a quote about a decision that this committee has not made yet. If the chair agrees that the issue relates to privilege, and if the chair's decision continues in the committee, this should go to the Speaker. The committee should not consider this matter any further because of this question of privilege. It should be moved on to the next process or statement. And I can see, Mr. Chair, that you are conferring with the table. And so I would suggest, because I would like the opportunity to refine my comment, that I have not missed out on any important, relevant parliamentary references, that we should recess to be able to try and determine how we are going to address this, because this is extraordinary. It is insulting to the members of the official opposition and all Albertans, and it is serious of nature. And so, Mr. Chair, I ask if we might be able to recess so that I can continue my arguments when we return.
No, I will agree to the recess.
All right, kits and cubs. Wondering whether or not you heard that right. You did. While they were discussing whether or not they would make the recommendation, the UCP had a little premature enunciation, where it's caucus staff, which prompted Naheed Nenshi and the NDP to offer them their thoughts and prayers, released a document stating that the decision had already been taken and that, yes, they would be proceeding to a referendum. In fact, it would appear that Danielle Smith, according to Mr. Lucan, had all recorded a video announcement that it was going to happen before the decision was even voted on. Now, of course, the decision was going to be voted on and be voted on positively because, well, the UCP have a majority and therefore have a majority on the committee. But they didn't even bother to go through the formality, and they released the thing before the vote had even taken place. So, of course, as you saw, the recess was granted. I'm guessing that the objection was indeed refined, and the committee was not able to conclude its affairs. It suspended its activities before the vote could take place. So again, we have a situation where the premier, as we also suspected, was going to do what she was going to do anyway. They had the votes. All they had to do was wait until the vote was done, and they couldn't even do that, right? And then the vote couldn't even take place. They can't even cheat competently, and they purport to be a government, being able to govern. Alberta Daniel Smith, now we know you decided to give separatists a referendum, and you already pre-recorded your tomorrow's TV announcement before the legislature committee even had a chance to vote on the Forever Canadian petition. The 500,000 Albertans don't matter. That's Tom Kasich. And they put out this release, which of course they took down and said, disregard that release. You weren't supposed to see that. Well, you all saw that. And of course, the internet is forever, so the screen caps happened. May 20th, 2026, for immediate release, Chair of the Select Special Citizen Initiative Proposal Review Community, Brandon Lunty, issued the following statement on recommending a referendum question cabinet. quote, the Select Special Citizen Initiative Proposal Review Committee established to review Thomas Lukaszyk's Forever Canadian petition has passed a motion that the Special Select Committee on Citizen Initiative Petition Review recommend the Government of Alberta include a question on the October 19, 2026 provincial referendum that includes an option for Albertans to vote for Alberta to remain in Canada. More than 400,000 Albertans signed Mr. Lukaszyk's Forever Canada petition. Combined with the reported 301,000 who signed the Alberta Independence petition, this means over 700,000 Albertans want and deserve the opportunity to have their voices heard in a referendum. Mr. Lukaczyk literally just testified, we saw him, that that is not what that means. So basically, what the UCP is doing is some of the worst form of suppression that you can have is to take the work of another person. They tell you why it is they are doing it. You remove those words from their mouth. You take the words that you needed them to say, you force them into their mouth, and then claim they said it, and then act based on that. It's the exact same thing we saw in the United States when we were looking at that thing with Colin Kaepernick, who was taking a knee for the national anthems. He told people while he was taking a knee, right? Had something to do with police brutality. But then all the Republicans took the black man's voice out of his mouth and said, no, that's not why you're doing that. You don't know why you're doing that. We know why you're doing that. We will tell you why it is you are taking a knee. You are taking a knee to disrespect our troops. You're taking a knee because you're unpatriotic. You're taking a knee because you do not love this country. Put that in his mouth saying, see, he said he doesn't love the country. We need to stop him. This is the exact same thing that's going on. Doesn't matter how many times Thomas Lukaczyk will tell them what it is that he's trying to do. They will take the words out of his mouth, stuff their own into his, and tell you that he said this. Mr. Lukaszyk's application required him to choose how his petition would be decided, either a vote in the legislature or a referendum, and he explicitly chose a referendum. No, he did not. That's a lie. The law is also clear. Once a citizen initiative reaches the required signature threshold, it proceeds according to that selected path, in this case, to a referendum. But it didn't. You made it pass through a special select citizen initiative proposal review committee that you established for the sole purpose initially of trying to bury those voices. And now you realized you couldn't. So you are now taking that referendum and choosing to actually weaponize it against the people who requested it. And if you happen to want proof of that, well, proof of that there is, dear kits and cubs. Because we happen to have here, thanks to a very kind person who sent it to us, the application form that Mr. Lukaczyk, thank you to my first social media account on Jitter, who gave this to us. So let's see if we can somehow make this a little larger for us to see here. Okay, that's not getting bigger. Okay, so here, applicant information. You might not be able to see it all here. Lukaczyk, Thomas, address information has been blacked out. Type of petition, choose one, it says. Legislative or policy proposal requires the signatures from 10% of electors on the post-election day list, or constitutional referendum proposal requires signatures from 20% of electors on the post-election day list with 20% threshold met in 2/3 of electoral divisions. The check mark is next to legislative or policy proposal, not constitutional referendum proposal. Literally, this letter says here, Mr. Lukaszyk's application required him to choose how his petition would be decided, either a vote in the legislature or referendum, and he explicitly chose a referendum. The piece of paper that we have here explicitly says legislative or policy proposal. Subject matter of petition. The applicant, it says description or proposal. The applicant is motivated by the fact that Alberta's separation from Canada is being actively discussed. Since a referendum appears to be imminent anyway, it should be objective and not directed by special interest groups. Separation will threaten the Canadian as well as the Albertan economy, the personal wealth of Albertans, the Canadian citizenship rights of Alberta residents, and the treaty rights of our First Nations. They're not our First Nations, by the way. We don't own them. Treaty rights of First Nations, and have many other serious and negative consequences. We believe the majority of Alberta's residents are loyal Canadians opposed to any form of separation. Therefore, we, as represented by the signatory and applicant below, propose a referendum on the following question. Do you agree that Alberta should remain in Canada? Legislative or policy proposal. And since a referendum appears to be imminent anyway, it should be objective and not directed by special interest groups. Therefore, we, as represented by the signatory applicants, propose the referendum on the following question. But first, he asked for a legislative or policy proposal, which the Alberta UCP did not want to give, because that means they would have needed to stand up and identify themselves, at least the ones who are not resigning right now, as people who are separatists. And they didn't want to do that because that would have made things messy. That would have required accountability. UCP is not all that into that. So they're literally lying in print about the motives and what it is that Mr. Lukasik asked for. Quote, what we're doing now is following that law and respecting the expectations of those Albertans who signed Mr. Lukasik's petition in good faith, understanding it would result in a referendum. No. It's amazing how they torque reality and make it sound reasonable, doesn't it? This expectation is not new. Actually, it says this expectation not new. There's a typo. It was promoted from the outset by Mr. Lukasik in his launch news release, campaign information, and in multiple media interviews. It was also supported by the Alberta NDP, including leader Naheed Nenshi and deputy leader Raki Pancholi, who repeatedly asked the premier during question period to call a referendum. If you ask Albertans to sign on to a referendum, you don't get to change your position once you succeed. So this is them saying, well, they said before. Yeah, they said before. But what they submitted, which is the only thing you have to work on, says legislative option. Quote, our caucus and Premier Daniel-Smith continue to support a strong and sovereign Alberta within a united Canada, blah, blah, blah. But supporting Canada also means respecting democratic participation, which, of course, they don't. They've shown that by the manner they've changed laws and, bent over backwards and having ignored court rulings. When hundreds of thousands of Albertans engage in a process designed to end in a referendum, we don't ignore them, we follow through. Albertans will be informed once Cabinet has decided whether a question will proceed to a referendum and what that question will be. With this work now complete, the Select Special Committee will submit a final report to the Legislative Assembly and be dissolved. And not necessarily recommending the question, do you want to stay in Canada? And then, for the next 3 pages, additional information, selected examples of when Thomas Lukasik called for a referendum, emphasis added, and they list every single time Tom Lukasik or the Alberta NDP, who are not a party to this, Raki Pancholi, who is not a party to this, Laurie Sigurdsson, who is not a party to this. What they've said on whether or not they want to is literally irrelevant to the matter because they are not the proponent of the petition. And when the petition was filed, it was very clear what was being asked for. The only reason there is confusion is because the UCP wants there to be confusion. This is how far they are willing to go to get what they want. This is how scared Daniel-Smith is of losing her job. Because she just negotiated a pipeline and now she is systematically taking every step possible to ensure that nobody ever invests in that pipeline. She has announced prematurely that they are going ahead with the referendum no matter what. Not even sure yet whether or not it's going to be a referendum on that question on keeping Canada together. But she's going ahead, hell or high water, which means now until October and then the 6 months afterwards. Well, sorry, until they decide all the way till the referendum question, there's going to be big trouble. And if the question passes, more trouble. And if it fails, probably also more trouble, because these are people that do not like to be told no and have already shown that they're willing to break the law. They already talk in manners that are threatening and intimidating. And there are a lot of people, one of the reasons a lot of people are afraid because of this petition leak is because there are some people that are not necessarily tethered to reality, who do not have the best ability to exercise mastery over themselves. Some of them who we've seen with Coots, who have the intention to be violent, even kinetically so. Do you think these people are going to be happy if there's a referendum and it doesn't pass? Do you think that the vote on the referendum, and if it doesn't pass, settles the issue for them, for the people that if I don't get my way, I didn't have my say? Daniel Smith keeps on being handed off-ramp after off-ramp after off-ramp and not taking them. Daniel Smith has decided she doesn't want the pipeline. Daniel Smith has decided she doesn't want a pipeline. Who's going to invest in that? Days after getting the implementation agreement, she ensures that there will be a petition, a referendum on separation. And her party botches the announcement. Maybe this was intentional. Maybe they thought that if they announced it early, it would put pressure. I don't see why they felt the need to put pressure. They have the majority on the committee. All they had to do is let the process that was already established clearly in their favor play through. But they couldn't do that. They couldn't do that. And we know this is not going to stop Daniel Smith, this embarrassment, because she doesn't feel any shame. So yeah, that's what we've got going on. And this thing's a mess. They can't even cheat competently. And they pretend they can govern. I don't get this. And the situation gets worse yet, where it has to do with Mr. Hoekstra, because it would appear that there is more reason for us to be worried about our felonians. According to Rory White of Canada's National Observer, if you were worried that the data was gone, you have reason to be worried the data is gone. But if you were particularly worried that the data might not only be gone, that the data might not only be gone, but the data might be in the hands of people who didn't have your best interest at heart. If you were worried, if you're an Albertan and you're worried that your very personal data, including the number that's assigned to you as a voter, might be in the hands of, let's say, the Trumpublicans in the United States, you might have very good reason to worry. Because according to the National Observer, the Alberta voter data has been found on the website of a U.S. company that's linked to the Centurion project. That's not good. That is not good at all. So not only were they irresponsible with the data, but yes, the data is on the website of a U.S. company. Can't be controlled now. If you were scared before, you might have more reason to be so now. Man, this is absolutely the level of incompetence, the sloppiness. Again, the level of just depraved indifference to what is going on here is astounding. So yeah, that's where the Alberta thing is. There's cabinet shuffle today. Not sure if the announcement of the referendum is going to come anyway. I don't know if they're going to wait for the formality of a vote anyway, or just go. I mean, the cat's out of the bag now. So even if they announce it after the formality of the vote, it's not going to be legitimate anyway because we saw the leak of the article stating that they had already decided, even that Daniel Smith's video announcing it had already been recorded. That meeting was merely for theater, was a stage play. We've already gone on a rather significant amount of time, and I did want to talk about what was going on in Ontario with Nathaniel Erskine-smith. I think I am going to save that for another episode because I would like to be done in fewer than 3 hours. So, but a short version there is that there's a group called Section 31 Liberals that has been formed, and it seems that they are requesting, like Nate has suggested, that there are some steps that be taken in order to tighten up the processes. And doesn't seem like there's much appetite for it within the Liberal Party. Section 31 Liberals are a grassroots group of Ontario Liberal Party members who are pushing to amend the party's constitution to restrict voting in leadership nomination races exclusively to Canadian citizens and permanent residents. The group's name is a direct reference to the section of the Liberal Party of Canada Constitution that defines membership and voting eligibility rules. The group was formed in response to concerns over foreign interference and high-profile allegations of voting irregularities during the highly contested Scarborough Southwest provincial by-election nomination. They want to explicitly bar temporary residents from becoming members of the Ontario Liberal Party, which would prohibit them from voting in internal elections and candidate selections. But the Ontario Liberal Party has stated that constitutional amendments cannot be considered until the party's next annual general meeting, expected in 2027, after the ongoing leadership race concludes. The group's objective is to align the Ontario Party's bylaws with the federal Liberal Party's rules, which already restrict voting rights to Canadian citizens, permanent residents, and those with status under the Indian Act. According to Jessica Smith-Cross of the Village Report, it seems that the group is trying to pressure the party to prevent temporary residents from voting in candidate nominations and leadership campaigns, which the party says it doesn't plan to address until its current leadership race is over. Why? Why would you make that decision? Again, we have that report on foreign interference. We've just seen an example of a vote that could have been influenced by that. It was a complete mess. Again, you have to go out of your way to organize an exercise as messy as this one was alleged to have been. And the people who are currently in charge or running that party, who seem to very much not want Nate Erskine-Smith to be the leader, are telling us as Ontarians, yeah, we know that we had this foreign interference report and we know that we just ran a mess of a thing there and that you have some legitimate concerns and this makes us look like a not serious party, but we are so much more interested in maintaining ourselves in our positions of being the people who are running a third place party that has been going nowhere for a while and now has an opportunity to go somewhere, but we're going to try to make sure that it keeps on going nowhere by running democratic exercises in a manner that is patently not democratic and definitely not foreign interference proof. We have the option of doing it, but we won't. Why not call a special meeting? You don't have to wait till 2027. You can fix this up before. If you want a legitimate party leader, you have to fix this up before. Now, Nate Erskine-Smith is saying, hey, he wants this action to be taken. He's even willing to take himself out of the running in Scarborough Southwest. Probably a good thing, because even if he presented himself again, what are the chances that even if he was the nominee, he would win it come general election time? It is best for him to present himself in another riding now. But this issue does need to be resolved. And it seems that the Ontario Liberal Party sees absolutely no motivation in it to get this done before the vote on the leadership, for they so did not want Nate. This is not good. This is proving to not be a serious party, and it would seem that if this is the case, then there are more people than Bonnie Crombie who needed to go. And maybe that's what needs to be taken care of prior to the next leadership vote. We have more than that on this for you. That's just the broad outline here, because there's the video of the scrutineer that Nate Erskine-Smith hired, who has that extensive experience working in many countries. What he had to say about that. There's the rest of this article, and there's a whole thing in the Hill Times about how allegedly Nate just rubs certain people the wrong way. And therefore, we need to do stuff like this to make sure he doesn't have a chance to win. Said in that interview on Power and Politics, somebody came in and said, when we need to save the party, Nate assumes that save the party from me, I guess. If you're going to put that much effort in a nomination race to represent the party in a by-election, that much effort to cheat in so many ways, to have a process that is simply not credible. The guy who won that nomination, he can't run on that and be considered credible. And it would appear that it was the same person that organized Mr. Hang Dong's nomination. If you remember him, he was one of the people that was cited from the federal Liberals. A lot of people were claiming that he was a foreign agent. It turns out that he wasn't. It turns out that he's suing for defamation. But the person that bussed in all the people that made it such that his nomination selection ended up being more controversial and getting more attention than it needed to be is the same person who's running on this nomination races campaign. That's not good. Why is that person even anything? Again, lots of questions, but right now it looks like the Ontario Liberals are desperately, again, trying to screw the pooch. And we're seeing two Conservatives and Liberals, two of them, trying to cheat and being incredibly incompetently bad at it. One of them claiming that they can be a government and they have the ability to govern, and the other one trying to claim that they're a government in waiting in the face of the most corrupt government Ontario has ever had, and possibly the most corrupt government Canada's ever had. And right now it's a very close competition with Danielle Smith as UCP, however. And they still, there's no reason to cheat. The other people are screwing up so badly that all you need to do is show up and present yourself as minimally competent, and you can't even do that. And in the case of the Ontario Liberals, not only can they cannot do that, they won't do that. In the case of the UCP, to get this referendum come hell or high water for the separatists, they had no intention from the get-go to do this in a legal manner, or in a manner that was transparent and could be considered credible. They knew from the get-go that they couldn't do it according to the rules. They set out to cheat. And they're so sloppy or so brazen that they've been found out. And both of them have been found out, and they are still continuing to cheat. When does somebody stand up and stop these people? What's it going to take? They are doing it out in the open. We can all see it. If it is allowed to persist and run to its logical conclusion, very bad things could happen. Where are the charges? Where are the arrests? Where are the adults in the room to say, you know what, sorry, this is now utterly ridiculous. You have shown that you are not responsible enough to have the power that you enjoy. We need to remove it from you. The people in the Ontario Liberal Party who will not even consider changing the rules before the leadership vote, they need to be gone. The people in the UCP who are literally flouting judicial orders or keeping on trying to change laws or find workarounds to the laws so that they don't have to respect it, they need to be removed. You shouldn't get 75 chances to try to screw over democracy. We see you doing it once, and that should be enough. You should have the Scarlet Letter as being deemed as someone who has proven that they are not able to function in a democratic society and treated as such. But they're still going at it. Boggles my mind. Kids and Cubs, that's the end of this episode of the Daily Beaver Morning Show. We hope that you love listening to us because we love making this for you. Remember, sharing is caring and word of mouth is priceless. So please tell your peeps and poops all about us. We really appreciate it when you do. I had so much more content today for you. Seriously, so much more content. Oh my God. But yeah, this is, cannot believe the stuff that is going on here today. Tonight, if you can, Kids and Cubs, of course, the Montreal Canadiens, but it's also the last night of Stephen Colbert. If you are intending to watch Jimmy Killen Jimmy Kimmel and Jimmy Fallon tonight. I hear that they will not be doing their shows tonight in order to leave him all the room. But yes, it will be the last night of Stephen Colbert. And again, yet another sign that the country south of us is slipping more and more into autocracy. So yeah, a lot of people being encouraged to give him the best ratings ever. So yeah, so that the company looks really, really bad when it pulls the plug when he gets several million viewers tonight for a late show. Maybe even the most watched late show television episode in the last 10 or 15 years, maybe, if enough people tune in to watch live, which will be very embarrassing. But again, we are dealing with people who are impervious to feeling shame. So I guess it's just to put it on the record. But if you have an opportunity, do that. Remember, sharing is caring and word of mouth is priceless. So please tell your peeps and poops all about us. We really appreciate it when you do. And as you know, Kits and Cubs, we had talked about happening to our Twitter feed and our YouTube account. And I've been hearing more and more ways about that. And I just wanted to give you a little evidence that we did indeed get hit by this. We have a software that allows us, or a web page that allows us to see our performance over the past few days. And just wanted to show you just how badly we were being strangled. That I'm not kidding you about what was going on here. This graph that I'm showing you here shows you our daily channel metrics here. And we don't know how long this has been going on. We think it's been going on for at least a month. This one here shows us the last 30 days. We had 21,681 views. However, if you look at this week here, you see our views 234 on one day, 267 on another, 370 on another, 65 on a Sunday, 45 on the Monday, 227, and then 607. All of these are below the daily average of 723. And this daily average of 723 is already been being depressed because this had been going on for about 3 weeks previous to that. And then all of a sudden, I guess a lot of people started talking about it. And then 858, 1285, 2969. This 2969 represents about 64% higher, greater than 60% higher views in one day than in an entire week. That's something pretty spectacular. Yesterday, if you look on our view counts on our YouTube page, Kits and Cubs, you will see that the 4 or 5 shows preceding yesterday's having trouble breaking 200 views. Our show 9 days ago has only 232 views. By the time we get 9 days in, we're hitting close to 500, 600, and most of our shows ultimately cap out somewhere between 700 and 800. If I keep looking back here, I do not have anything 700 until one episode streamed 2 weeks ago, and then it's still below them. And I have to go as far back as something that was over a month ago. We have been being completely strangled. It seems to have let up. Yesterday's show was in the 400s by the time I had logged off. So something was definitely happening here. And These types of things have happened before. I remember the time I had the interview with Devin Haru just before the Olympics, and I put it out, and I thought, it's like, okay, this is going to get a lot, and it didn't. Like, nothing happened with it for the longest time, and I wrote to complain. It says, you cannot tell me that I have an interview with one of Canada's most beloved sportscasters right before we're about to go to an Olympics, a major media event, and that this show underperforms everything else that we do by 70 or 80%. And they said, no, there's nothing going on. It happens. But this is the first time that it's gone on sustained for almost a full month to see if they can break people. Had that 1 week I showed you continued for an entire month, our regular 30-day views of about 21,000 would have dropped to 1,111. It would have been an over 90% drop in our viewership. We were being strangled, literally. So again, kids and cubs, when I say, please share our content with a little word of yourself, I mean it. Share it. Share the link. Share it all the time. Share it with a lot of people, because the only solution is to get it in front of more eyeballs when they try stuff like that. So thank you for all you do when you share our content. It really does matter. When a change in the algorithm can make it such that you lose over 90% of your views just like that. Sharing really, really matters. And it seems here, based on all the other channels that are reporting them, all the other channels are channels that seem to do work that like we do. Centrist, a little bit to the left, sort of more in-depth, less sensationalistic. There seems to be a theme. All the places that I'm seeing reporting this type of behavior, that there drops. We all seem to have a similar editorial perspective. So please share the content. It really means the world. Kids and cubs, if you would like to support us, you can scan this QR code, which will bring you to our YouTube page, and there you can click with our buttons like, share, and subscribe. Please do. That does help us with the algorithm. The more you click on that, the more it sends the message that people actually do want to see this. Particularly if you are not a subscriber yet, if you just happen to stumble upon it, please do click on that, because that seems to matter to them as well. New people that are looking at it and liking it, that seems to give them the impression that maybe something should remain higher placed in their algorithm, I guess. I'm not sure exactly how it works. So please do like, share, and subscribe. And if you are not watching live and you're watching on your phone, if you go to the comment section and swipe left, you will find a place to give hype points. Please do, because that apparently helps smaller channels like ours get seen. And you can hype only 3 times per week. If you would like to help us in other ways, say financially, and another way that we were hit, it's also shown now in our financial numbers for May. We are actually running very close to maybe not getting our payout from YouTube this month, because it has to be at least $100. And right now it is showing we are not there yet with 9 days left in the month. Our revenues for this month have dropped by at least 2/3 with what's been going on. They're trying. There was a concerted effort to get a lot of us to shut down. So if you are able to offer some additional support this month, we would really appreciate that. And you can do so by scanning this QR code, which will bring you to our coffee page, which is the Beaver Lodge's Emergency Hydration Fund. And you can find us at ko-fi.com/eagerbeaver, all in one word. We have it set up so that you can make a 1 month or a recurring donation. And thank you so much for supplying your favorite beaver with some beaver moistener, because a moist beaver is a very happy beaver, and we must keep him hydrated, especially as the temperature is starting to warm up. So there you go, kids and cubs. When you donate via our coffee, we get 95 to 97% of your donation. Remember, we have the super chats and the memberships, and the stickers on YouTube, where we get about 70%. And if you're doing the Canadian thing, by Canadian thing, truenortheagerbeaver@gmail.com is our email address. Send us a direct bank transfer there, and we get 100% of your donation. truenortheagerbeaver@gmail.com is also the address at which you can write us if you want to offer us suggestions or constructive critique or compliments about the show. And as well, if you want to offer us guest suggestions for the True North Eager Beaver interview podcast, ask us your questions. Remember our hashtags: kids who cook, kids who craft, and kids who cultivate. And send us your good news as well. If you're looking for us on our socials, you can find us at True Eager, at Blue Sky, which is now our primary news feed. We're still posting stuff on Twitter, but we are using Blue Sky as our go-to henceforth. True Eager at also on the jitter if you need to have our presence there. True North Eager Beaver on Facebook. Also Beaver Bites on our Substack, the Damn Fam Discord, which hopefully somebody will put a link in the chat. That's run by you. And of course, the True North Eager Beaver Instagram, run by Kit Uncover. Thank you for all the places that you go to find us. And today is the first day that we are also broadcasting live on Substack, because it seems that one of the feeds that we were broadcasting on was always showing the episode as locked as it was live, and then you had to unlock it afterwards. So since that one's not working, we're just posting a link there and increasing our range to Substack. So we're allowed to broadcast on 5 channels with the membership we have. So we added a platform instead, and hopefully more people will find us there, and that will help our numbers. So a little bit of strategy going on here at this end. Just thought we would share the news with you, how it is that we're trying to cope with the changing situations. So that's that. Kits and Cubs. If because democracy is something that you do, of course, we have the 2 petitions that we have been promoting to you. If you would be interested in those, the first one is our Commons petition. Let's see if I've got that ready. Yes, it is. Petition number E7395. That's sponsored by Elizabeth May, and it is calling upon the House of Commons to stop funding Stornoway as a private residence for the leader of the official opposition. So let's put this in your chat so that you can find it there. Thank you, Kit Saucy, for putting the link to the Damn Fam Discord there. DaCosta received one of the memberships. Nice. Oh, I love DaCosta. I haven't talked to him in a good while. I hope he's doing well. I miss that guy. So there you go. You have that. And that petition is now at, taking a look, 11,204 signatures. One a little bit over the past day. And the other one is ourcommons.ca petition E7340, which calls on the House to invoke its authority under Section 53 of the Supreme Court Act to refer the constitutionality of Alberta's Justice Statutes Amendment Act 2025 to the Supreme Court of Canada, and to direct the Foreign Influence Transparency Commissioner to immediately investigate the meetings between the Alberta Prosperity Project and the Trump administration. And that one here, Kits and Cubs, has a 23,604 signatures to date, and the link is being included right here. And thank you, Kitsasi, for including the link to our Substack as well. Thank you. Very kind of you in the chat. So there you go, Kits and Cubs. You have all of that information. Again, as we mentioned, if you're in BC, get your ballots in if you're a member of the BC Conservative Party, because the 30th is the date. And of course, we have 2 major protests going on in the province of Alberta on the 29th, and in the province of October on province of Ontario on April 30th. Please show up to participate in those. Words of wisdom, Kits and Cubs. Hey, when the window closes, the door opens. So don't just walk through the door and bust it open and say, I am here, darlings. I've arrived. That's what we try to do over here at the Beaver Lodge. There you go. It could be a tough world out there, so please be kind to and gentle with yourself. And at the count of 3, Kits and Cubs, may I please have you say all together in unison, Mr. Beaver, please cue the cock. On 1, 2, 3. Oh, yeah. Yeah, I hear you. I hear you. And here's a little cock-a-doodle-doo just for you. Let me know if you like the new backdrop rather than the screensaver. I can leave it up. It's not as uh, I, I don't know. Maybe people like this better. Who knows? But we did have a little less difficulty today with the transitions. So perhaps, Saucy, you were onto something, or Linda, when you suggested that. So please do. There you go. And I just noticed. I don't know if this is the camera that's doing that, or if there's an actual. Oh yeah, it seems that there's an actual stain on the flag. I'm going to have to try and see if I can fix that. I just noticed it now. We had been flying it outside previously, so maybe that has a little something to do with that. We might have to need to give it a little wash there at some point. So there you go, kits and cubs. Let me know if you prefer that, and maybe that will make things a little bit easier for us than the backdrop we were having. All right. That's all I got for you today. And since you did do the cock-a-doodle-doo thing, here's a little cock-a-doodle-doo just for you. You are listening to a True North Eager Beaver Media Incorporated podcast. The True North Eager Beaver podcasts are proudly brought to you by our founding sponsors, the Misfit Mysteries from Corvid Moon Publishing, your source for science fiction, fantasy, and cozy mysteries featuring a broad diversity of characters. CanadianTarot.com, their uniquely Canadian online eclectic tarot community. And the Peppermaster, hot pepper sauces made from farm-fresh ingredients to thrill your taste buds and expand your mind. We are grateful to the Crier Media Network for its support, Pete Jarvis for our artwork, and Paul Joseph Something for our opening and closing sequence music. And kits and cubs, before we go, just a little bit of news of Canadians who make us proud. This one, a little different than the stuff we usually show you. It's going to be a little news clip because there were some people in Saskatchewan the other night who happened to have a little bit of experience that allowed them to be particularly effective in the manner in which they showed up to help. But we have some heroes among us that have done a wonderful, and have ended up in the process saving 8 Canadians. Some cubs. So let's give them their rightful due.
This is the moment Samantha Teegert and her boyfriend Greg Stewart found their neighbor's house on fire across the street.
We both just started banging on the door, telling everybody to get up, get out, there's a fire.
The pair almost went camping that night, but decided to pick up an extra shift at work instead. That's how they were awake at 4 a.m, just in time to spot the blaze.
He kicked the door in and went into the house and started yelling, "Everybody get out, get out, get out." Well, I ran to the street, grabbed my phone. I dialed 911 right away.
From there, the couple helped 8 people and a dog evacuate the burning home.
I know of one that got smoke inhalation. Me and Greg went to the hospital, got checked out. We burnt our throats just a little bit just from standing in all that smoke, and I burnt the back of my hair off because there was a flame that blew through the living room.
As soon as everyone was out, the Radville-Laurier Volunteer Fire Department took over to stop the flames from spreading. Fire Chief Byron Labby says the family had gathered there for a grandparent's birthday, and he applauds the couple for saving them.
I think they did the community a great service, and I've talked to them and told them that they did an excellent job of being good neighbors.
Teegert says she's just glad everyone made it out alive.
There's a lot of what ifs that we keep thinking, but we just want to keep thinking of the outcome that everyone is alive. Houses can be replaced, but people can't.
The homeowner tells CBC News she's deeply grateful for the couple's quick response. And for now, she and her son will be staying with a neighbor. The cause of the fire is still under investigation. Alex Kozrowski, CBC News,
Regina.
So there you go, kits and cubs. If ever you needed your faith in humanity slightly bolstered, there you go. We have some good people among us. Again, hopefully these people will receive lots of not only congratulations, but recognition that they are due. And hopefully more blessings will definitely come their way as a result of having done an extremely good deed. 8 lives, human lives, and a puppy as well. So there you go. Canadians who make us proud. All right. Amour et bisous. And we will see you tomorrow. Bye, everyone.